What's up, YouTube? It's Logan, the Drunken Metalhead who muses, and tonight I'm talking about a current contest hosted by none other than Tom from Cine Arcadia. Of course, Tom, being the guru of Doom, wants the contest to center around 5 Doom metal albums. I kind of wanted to flip this concept on its head a little bit and focus on a certain subgenre of Doom that doesn't get discussed enough. With it being the 420 season, I am of course talking about Stoner Doom. And I kind of want to make the case for Stoner Doom as a subgenre as well, like a legit subgenre of Doom. So without further ado, go ahead and get yourself toked up, grab yourself a beer, and let's dive into some crushing riffs and fuzzed out guitars. Alright, now that the concept behind this video has been introduced, I am ready to crack open a beer. So, kind of the flagship brewery for the 420 season in my eyes is this brewery from Atlanta, Georgia, called Sweetwater Brewing. They honestly specialize in anything skunky. They have this perfect hop combination that produces just a dank smell and like lightly grassy flavor to any beer they want to create. So to go with Stoner Doom, I decided to go with their Imperial IPA, because I mean their standard IPA, that's your stoner rock music. That's the weed inspiration is there, the smoothness is there, the fuzzed out guitar is there. When you add the real heavy Doom stuff, that's when you approach Imperial IPA territory. Let's crack it open and start imbibing a little bit. Cheers, folks. Honestly, it's sweet, very nectary, super juicy, and it does not taste like 9%. So, to make a proper case for Stoner Doom being a legit subgenre, I want to start by kind of presenting with a paternal album, if you will, that kind of laid the blueprint for what the genre, will be. And then from there, I want to go through the decades and kind of map out how this genre has changed and just demonstrate how there are bands that are waving the flag for Stoner Doom, essentially from the 90s to modern day. So first, the ideal sound, I think, that kind of represents Stoner Doom is essentially Master Reality by Black Sabbath, just turned into a whole subgenre. And specifically one where it's not necessarily really dark in its subject material and like the feel of the music, but really more meant to be like a trip or a journey, something that kind of takes its time to get to where it's going and doesn't mind meandering along the way. I think there also needs to be a fair amount of groove present in the drumming and of course the guitar melody. I mean, a certain groove comes to mind. Do 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 do. It sounds like the Stoner Doom groove to me. Also, the lyrical nature of the music needs to focus on the occult, spirituality, and of course, weed lore. So I know the paternal album, the father of Stoner Doom, is not going to surprise anybody. I'm of course talking about an album from the band Sleep's Holy Mountain. You could have really gone with either this or Volume 1, but to me this one has all the hits, is more well known, and kind of shows the specific examples that I just, provided for about the cornerstones and what makes Stoner Doom Stoner Doom. It's really more of an adventure kind of album The songs themselves are some of the best of the genre. I mean, Dragonaut is a classic. The Druid is a little more savage in sound, but also perfectly exemplifies that Master of Reality kind of riffing. You can't go wrong with Inside the Sun, which actually might be my favorite song in the album. It's a bit more upbeat and almost has some punk vibes while still keeping that sludgy heaviness. I mean, really, this to me launched the whole subgenre. So where did this subgenre go from Sleep's groundwork? I'd say a great example would be Bousset Woods by Acid King. So this came out in 1999 and is mainly the brainchild of Lori S. out of California. Ironically, of course, the woods that she's talking about is a national forest located in Illinois. So seems like a fun place to visit. Just look at the album cover. To me, this album takes the slow, meandering groove of Holy Mountain and just adds a dense wall of reverb all over the thing. I mean, this is a wall of sound album right here. The riffs, they kind of all blend together and they become like a slow churning mass as it just invades your eardrums. This kind of production makes the guitar leads and stuff really stand out. Like, as soon as the lead comes in, you can just hear it break that wall of sound, and it really hooks you. This is also true for Lori's vocals, and to me it demonstrates one of the strengths of the genre, is when you have a female vocalist, or really just a vocalist who's able to soar over the stoner groove, it can really entrance you and kind of make it more of a ritualistic sound and just a better listen overall. You can't go wrong with any of the songs on Bousset Woods. For me, my favorites are opening Electric Machine, very iconic drum opening, and then Drive Fast, Take Chances is probably one of their most well-known songs. My absolute favorite, though, is 39 Lashes, which is essentially an instrumental which really focuses on capturing the repetitive nature of the genre and just shows every single instrument and person in the band moving as one, and you're really able to get into the flow and the riff that pushes that song forward. Also, I would say, as far as listenability goes, this album is a lot more palatable than some of the brethren that I will show. I mean, it's only 45 minutes long, and how they've put this album together makes it flow fairly easily. So, highly recommend Acid King and Bousset Woods. Alright, by my account, this is one of those albums that pushed the stoner doom genre into the 2000s, if you will. And I'm talking about As Heavens Turn to Ash by Warhorse. So this came out in 2005 on Southern Lord, and I want to take a quick moment to just give Southern Lord a shout out, because they really did a lot for this subgenre in this decade, and I don't know if it would have, stuck as strong without a lot of the albums that Southern Lord put out. So, cheers. Okay, as far as the album itself, it's really focuses on being more of an instrumental album than anything. Vocals are used very minimalistically, and this allows certain dynamics of the instrumentation to shine through. It goes from absolutely crushing dirges of doom to some really laid back and beautifully psychedelic stoner rock pieces. Even during the heaviest points of this album, though, it maintains that stoner groove. And of course it's supported by a killer bass end and just some great production that highlights the drums as well. In the vocal department, it's almost more of like a gruff spoken word, and actually reminds me of early Neil Fallon from Clutch. So to kind of highlight two songs that showcase the dynamics of this album, I would definitely pick Black Acid Prophecy as the track that really brings that crushing stoner doom, and it really almost becomes regular doom or like funeral doom at points. And then to show off the more, stoner rock and laid back instrumental side, I would recommend Amber Vial, which actually comes right after it at track 4. This one almost brings to mind Space Cadet from Caius. Alright, so moving on to the 2010s, a band that I would say has really spearheaded the genre during this decade would be Windhand. I mean, their first album came out in 2011 with their self-titled, and they've just had killer release after killer release in that decade. It kind of culminated with my favorite album from them, Grief's Infernal Flower. Finally got a record up in here. So this is probably the most occult sounding album on this list, and probably the most occult sounding stoner doom band I can think of. To me though, with the way that their instrumentation tends towards the sludgier side of things, and the fact that it sounds very ritualistic and spiritual in nature, I think this is still stoner doom. It's also a massive album at about like 75 minutes. The highlight for me probably is Dorothea Cottrell and her just soaring and haunting vocals. It's really impressive how she can capture your attention and really make it an emotive listen. I mean, I really feel something on some of these songs. I feel a lot of loss and despair, but then also like natural beauty. As far as recommended songs off of Grief's Infernal Flower goes, there's really 2 different types. There's the more wall of sound, groovy side of things, which really kind of just pummels you. And then there's the more sorrowful and dynamic side. The best examples for the wall of sound is Forest Clouds, track 2, and then Hyperion and Kingfisher. Forest Clouds, favorite song on the album. Please definitely check that out. For the more dynamic and depressive side of their sound, look no further than Kripke and The Sparrow. Of course, real quick, since this is my one record, I gotta show off when I've got a variant. Look, it's purple. Alright, now to show off the final album, we're gonna answer the question of what is playing in the background, and that is Charlotte, North Carolina's Cosmic Reaper. This is their self-titled debut that came out in 2021 on Heavy Psych Sounds. This is all around just a really great young band that is taking this style into the current decade. And I think it kind of comes full circle, because this right here is relatively close to that sleep sound that they did on Holy Mountain, except it's different enough that you're not, drawn back to Holy Mountain exclusively. It's a bit darker and a bit more focused on being oppressively heavy throughout. It still has that classic groove and just big epic riffs along with, the more soaring vocals. The guitar tone is also a bit darker and more intense. We're currently jamming to Wasteland, which one of the better songs off the album, but I would also recommend opening song Hellion and the track Planet Eater, which is after this one. But a great sign of where stoner doom is potentially going from 2023. Gotta love that orange amplifier look. With that, there you go. 5 albums that represent stoner doom as a subgenre. Thanks for watching. I want to thank Tom again from Cine Arcadia for hosting the contest. Can't wait to see all the other submissions, and cheers!